Thank you. We'll take, if there's any questions for Mr. Carsten, we'll take them when I'm done talking. And I think also I might be the bearer of bad news, because there's no way you're going to leave the next 10, 12 minutes, because I have something to show you also and tell you about. The thing is that we've heard about opportunities, threats, and fintech in general. Now, if you are an incumbent organization and you're listening to this, you're listening about ChatGPT, AI, the new ways of thinking, collaborating with partners, there's one thing that you also have to bear in mind, and that is when you go back home, your organizational capabilities. Because that's not just do it. We heard about doing the pilot studies or the pilot projects first. It's not just getting started, it is down to your organizational capabilities. Now I have a longer presentation here, and I'm not going to give you all of it. I will say that I've been working in the financial services industry for the last 15, 20 years. Right now, I'm working with AI implementations, especially with insurance companies. We're working with big data and solutions to improve operations and customer outreach for insurance companies. What I wanted, and I'm skipping this real quick, what I wanted to give you an overview of is where the insurance company is headed. Not the insurance companies, the insurance industry. We are looking to, as we've heard earlier, there is a change in customer expectations. There is a change in how the world is moving digitally, especially when you're looking at the fintechs and the insurtechs of the world. They are moving at a much faster pace than most incumbent insurers. We are looking at, especially in the insurance, product changes. Today, in most insurance companies, you can buy one product and then you can change a little with the covers, but you cannot buy a micro-insurance product. You cannot buy an insurance product that is only available when and how you need it. Travel insurance, yes, but other insurance products, no. And when I'm hearing about the opportunities in Africa especially, then the whole concept of microinsurance, small parts of insurance, much cheaper, comes into mind. But that have huge implications for how you run your company. Because if you have a company that's been running like it used to for the last 30 years, and when you have your product configurations, you put them down here, and then that's it, right? And then you come with new products, new ways of working, new ways of distributing. Then it puts a completely different strain to your organization. And then you have AI, which is, of course, the hot topic at the moment. And here behind me, you'll see something called the AI paradigm. And what I mean here is we all read about AI, and probably to some extent that we really have this FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Because everything is exploding around us. But most of us don't really have an idea of what to do with it. Because when we start reading into, thinking into AI, then it becomes overly complex. There are new large language models coming out every day, and now we have different kinds of trends going on, right? And if you have a day job and you have to keep up with this, then you just get exceptionally stressed or overloaded. And what we see is that many companies, they simply choose not to do anything about it. And I think that is a huge mistake, and that's what I wanted to address really quick, a simple way for you to just get started or thinking about your insurance or your company's capabilities to start working with AI, because I don't believe that there's a way out of it. I don't believe that AI is going to take our jobs, but I'm pretty certain that people who know how to use AI personally and organizationally will take our jobs. So this is fantastically important. I read a report from the World Economic Forum that they expect 79 million jobs to disappear next year because of AI. On the same side, they expect 130 million new jobs to come, but they are all based on AI, which is our future. So you and me, we all have to be comfortable working with AI, and we are probably already a little late, right? Now, I'm not going to spend time too much about these AI applications in insurance, because if you go to ChatGPT and say, give me some use cases about AI in insurance, you'll get these and probably even more now. But what I want to say is that the applications or implementations of simple AI solutions that I've personally been part of the last year or so, they are all almost immediately return on investment positive. And let me just underline this, because it is not necessarily a big project you have to spend millions on and then wait and hope for something to happen. You can start very, very simple. And this is the key to get started. Do not get into the large projects. Understand what are the minimal requirements for you to get started. And I want you to take that away from today. Then we have some statistics about people not using it enough and they're using the wrong things, but hopefully you'll get these slides so you can see. I'm sorry we're under time pressure, but I wanted to show you this. I wanted to give you an idea of how to think AI strategy or business development strategy, or whatever you want to call it. For me, there is 3 aspects that you have to be aware of. You need to understand your own AI ambition. And this has to be coordinated with your board of directors, with the C-level, because maybe you in your unit, if you're head of digitalization, you want to do everything, but if your board of directors are not agreeing with you, then you have a clash even from the beginning. You need to understand your organizational AI readiness, okay? Because again, you can have the biggest ambition, we want to be an AI first company, and then you go to the organization and nobody understands AI. You're not going to be an AI first agency if that's the case. And of course, then when you've decided what is our ambition and what are our capabilities, then you can start looking at what are our clear and present opportunities. And this is very simple process, and I probably made the slides a little bit too complex, but bear with me and ask me questions if there is anything that you would like to know. Now, in our world, there are kind of 3 levels of ambition for your AI strategy. There is the one where you see AI as a tool, so it is supporting what you're doing, augmenting some of your processes, maybe taking some simple processes and automating them. Then you can start looking at AI as a differentiator. And AI as a differentiator comes when you are actually strong enough or willing to let AI or AI automation or digital development go across your different business units and teams. Because then you're starting to make a difference in the markets, because when you can combine your processes across teams or silos in your organization, then you're starting to be able to offer your customers something unique, shorter turnaround times, better service, new products, and so forth. And then, of course, you have the AI as a disruptor, where you're saying, okay, new business models, new companies, everything AI first. So this is the first line of thinking. Where would we like to go? But let's say that, okay, we want to be a disruptor because this is super sexy and we really have to go this way. But your organization might not be ready at all. I'm not sure if you can read all this. But typically, what you can do, and you can do it as a big project and you can do it as the back of the envelope, you can use some of the points here on the right-hand side to say, what is our organization's willingness to change? Do we have a culture that actually wants to embrace AI? Do we have structures? Do we have systems? Do we have an operating model, the way that money is flowing through, the way that we are organized as a company? Can we actually change as fast as we want? Number 1. But number 2 is also, do we have the money, or do we have the willingness to spend the money to do this change? And that's a good back of the envelope indicator of where are we. You can see here, if you have a high willingness to change, but maybe limited resources, then the high willingness to change in itself will actually enable you to become more disruptive in the market, because as you probably know as well as me, all change is 70% people and rest technology and processes. So this is an important step. We've set the ambition, we want to be the best, but we've come down and say, okay, we have a low willingness to change and we don't have that much money, so let's look at how we can use AI as a tool. And that's where we get into opportunity mapping. Opportunity mapping is, as we've said, identify opportunities, evaluate feasibility, and then see if these opportunities that you found are aligned with our business strategy, and then start implementing. It's an exercise that has to be done, but it's not necessarily a very difficult exercise. Opportunity mapping is going through your value chains, your processes, your teams, and mapping them out, just as Mr. Eager was talking about, which in many cases seems, why do we have to do this? We know how we're working. I'll guarantee you don't. Unless you're just in a process of digital transformation or redesigning your operating model, which I assume most of you are not, then you do not know how your company is working. And I'm willing to take you up on that. Because you have a process somewhere, a blueprint somewhere, but nobody has seen it in the last 2-3 years. And if you show it to the existing people working with you, they say, what is this? So first step is map what you're doing. When you're doing this, look at the opportunities. Is there any way here AI can be used for an automation, augmentation? Can it pre-check documents for Sharia compliance before we actually send it to the Sharia board, which will take a lot of time? All these things might map down the opportunities. Then, and I'm sorry it becomes a little consulting-ish here, but it was the best way I could try and explain it. And then you will look at these opportunities. How much impact do they have, and how difficult are they to implement? And you'll get a list of opportunities that are not that expensive or doesn't demand that much change of your organization and have a fairly high impact. The whole concept of gathering the right documents from customers, checking that it is the right documents, checking that the content is correct, checking that there is consistency across the documents, and having an automated dialogue with your customers. Quick win, costs less than 10,000 US per year to run, but it saves a huge workload for your customer service department, and all of a sudden you start to get really high quality data into your system. Just an example. When that in place, you will then look at, okay, fair enough, we have these opportunities and in varying effects, and how well do they then align to our strategy? Because that's another thing, we can have the best idea over here, but if our strategy is going to that way, it doesn't make sense anyway. And based on this, you have this scoring of your strategy, where you can see the ones that get a 5 are the ones that you just should start implementing right away because they've checked all the boxes. In high value, high impact, not difficult to implement, high alignment with the strategy, and also aligned with our organizational readiness to change, and so forth. Now, I'm speed talking, and I also appreciate that there's a lot of information to take in here. What I want you to remember from today is there's no way you cannot not start working with AI as professionals, as persons, and as part of an organization. And I hope it's clear to everybody. I also want you to take away that AI is only as dangerous as you want it to be, right? Because if you take it down on a very pragmatic level, you can get started with very, very simple solutions. I mean, you're already using it today. Most of you probably use Google Maps to get here, which is pure AI. You're using minutes of meetings and all these things. So AI is already part of your everyday. You just have to explore how can you use it for, and I dare say this, personal growth, which I think is very important, but also organizational growth. All right, I want to thank you for listening to my speed talk. If there's any questions to Mr. Kassem or me, we'd be happy to, over the last 2 minutes, take them. Otherwise, if not, I hope it was clear. Otherwise, I'm here, so you can ask me questions afterwards. Thank you very much. Thank you.